Close the doors, walk across the corridor. We got something to show you. Media is our repertoire. Fed up with the same news, no channel to use. Cruise control mentalities. Here we offer you. We gon' show you on your way. The content it never stays. We're positive and uplifting. Once a week the scope gifted. There's zero fake hydration like Boucher.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another week of MediaScope, all things media, tech, and pop culture. I'm happy to be with you. I was on last week, but it was a special thing I did only on Instagram because it was the ending of the Fundable Founders, the Pharrell Williams Fundable Founders program I was in. So I was live from Miami. So you didn't get to see me on all the other platforms, but if you happen to be watching on Instagram, you probably did see me. So I already see some people filing in, and let me introduce myself. My name is Tachi, media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. I'm here just about every week because of you guys, and we have a really special show tonight. I'm so excited because I have the bomb panel. Listen, if my mother didn't teach me anything else, she taught me how to put people together. So I have a bomb panel of wonderful people, and we're going to discuss the life and the work of Malcolm Jamal Warner. But before we do that, make sure that you are watching us every week. We're here on Fridays around 8 p.m.-ish, somewhere between 8 p.m. and 8:30. Today, we had a panelist who had some technical difficulties, so that's what we were dealing with today. So somewhere between that, and we're on all these all these wonderful platforms you see here, including on Thursdays. You will hear the replay of this on Gospel 107.1 FM in Nassau, Bahamas, and the rest of the Caribbean. Blessings, my friend in the Caribbean. How lucky are you to live in the Bahamas or Jamaica or Turks and Caicos? Because I've had listeners from all of those places and more. And guess what? Maybe you're watching us over on the tubing of the U. Why would you not be liked and subscribed? That just doesn't make any good sense. So I would love for you to like and subscribe because we appreciate you. This way you'll get notified whenever, hit the bell so you can get notified whenever we go live, whenever we have new videos, which is quite often, I should say. And we have already got some what is it called? Comments. So let's go ahead and say hello to people. I-95 Express Courier, who is one of my I was about to say castmates, but cohort mates from the Fundable Founders. How are you? She says, hello, glad to be here. That is Lupe. You saw her 2 weeks ago on the show. Welcome. Keisha Clark is here. Hello, Keisha. How are you? CQ family is alive and well in the chat. Kimmy, another CQ person, is here and says, hello, hello. And Hannah Boyd Miller is not only CQ, but she is also here because we're part of Touch Base Daily, the TBD family. So thank you so much for being here. And Lisa says, hey, Lisa Seeley is here. Welcome, Lisa. Pradnya. The Pradnya is if nobody is your cheerleader, how do we say it? If Pradnya be for ye, who be against ye? For real, you have no enemies when you have a Pradnya in your corner. Welcome, my friend. Thank you for being here. We also have the Queen of Food Truckery and the Minister of Libation, Serena Wills, who is here. She says hello to everyone. We also have Angel Hull says, I love Family Matters. It was more nostalgic than the Cosby Show. You know, that whole era of 90s TV, which we will get into, was definitely nostalgic. I want to hear from you all what you think, favorite moments. Well, I can't wait to get into this. Serena also says we could use some tacos and drinks today. Well, hop to it, sis. She's offering you some. She is our Minister of Libation and also the Queen of Food Truckery. In case you didn't know, we have a food truck. Yeah, maybe you can't see it, but we do. It's very real to us. And Ron Foster is sounding off in the comments. Welcome. And that's what we have for today. So we'll get to more comments and questions. Please put them in the chat. We definitely want to recognize you. And with that, we're going to go ahead because I promise we are not going to be on for 2 hours today. I want to keep this concise, but fruitful and useful. So let's see. Let's get this comment off of the screen. Go ahead and get your tacos, and we are going to go ahead and start. So without any further ado, we are going to bring up our wonderful guests. Let's see if we can make that happen. Here we go. Wonderful guests, how be ye? How are you all?
Outstanding.
Good, good, good. It is wonderful to have all of you here. I know all of these people, I have a lot of favorite people, but some of these are like my favorites. I am so honored that you all said yes. I gave you a couple of days notice and you all hopped to it. Now we are missing our good friend Tony Lassane. He was supposed to be on, but he was having technical difficulties like right before. So he sends his regards, and hopefully we'll get to have him on next time. He is the head of an entertainment company here in South Florida. So it would have been great to hear him. And if you are in the chat, Tony, go ahead and chime in because you are still part of the panel, even if you're not up here. What we're going to do is I'm sure many of us know some of you, but some of us don't. So why don't we go ahead and get started with our introductions? I'd like to start with Shawana Kennedy Media. Go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Tachi, and to each of you. I am Shawana Kennedy, the Video Productions Director for Kennedy Media, where we help you be seen, be paid, and known for your brilliance. Also, hey, I'm one of the fortunate ones that I not only have one show, but I have two shows on Indie Soup Media Network with, our lovely host, Dr. Tachi, where it's all things you first, that's self-care, mental well-being, personal development, and empowerment. And then that's followed up back-to-back on Monday nights, Eastern Standard Time at 7:30 by C-Suite, a CEO Chat, where I get to host some amazing entrepreneurs and business owners, multiple 6 and 7 figures from all over the globe, where we talk about the good, the bad, and sometimes ugly of what it look and feel like to be a CEO. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me, but I can't wait to get into this conversation tonight.
And we're happy to have you here. And next up is going to be the man of the hour himself, Dr. Vibe. Go ahead.
What is up, family? Dr. Vibe here from Toronto, Canada. And I've hosted and produced over 6,000 online shows, 2-time Canadian Ethnic Media Association Award winner. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And since 2020, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, solution for someone's problem. And I'm excited to be here. And I have content once in a while on this platform, but it's not about me. It's all about us, family. I'm excited to be here. Let's go.
Let's go indeed. And next up on the docket, we have someone who I haven't seen in a while, and I'm so glad she said yes to being here. Dr. Alicia, go ahead and, let's take him down first and go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
He's on mute.
I think you are muted, my dear.
I missed you, Dr. Tachi.
I missed you too, my dear.
Happy to be here today. My name is Alicia Watkins. I am a social work college professor. That's my full-time job. I teach in the Masters of Social Work program at my home institution in Illinois. And I'm also a therapist. I have my own practice, coaching with Dr. Alicia. And I work with couples. I work with individuals for healing, for wellness. And I'm happy to be here today.
Wow. Well, we're happy to have you here today. And we'll follow Dr. Alicia up with another man of the hour, Ron Lewis. Show yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ron Foster, and I am a professional published photographer based here in New York City. I'm photographed all over in different parts of the world and here in New York City. I also have an amazing podcast and community called Touch Base Daily. We meet every day at 11 o'clock here Eastern time. And it's a great community of wonderful people that get together. We talk about politics. We talk about photography. We talk about a lot of stuff. And but most of all, we are a strong community. And that's what it's all about, building a community. And that's what we do.
All that is very nice, but do you all peep the view of New York City directly behind him?
Oh, and this is my view.
He just casually says it. Look at the sunset. How lucky are we? It's a beautiful backdrop for a beautiful person. Thank you so much for being here. And finally, last but not least, we've got Gwendolyn G.R. Houston Jack the Third Robinson. No, just kidding. Go ahead.
It is Gwendolyn G.R. Houston Jack. I go by G. I am the the creator, the podcaster, the career coach with a twist. We do all the things, and luxury family photographer. That is that. And I too have, is it 4 shows on Indecent Media? I talk.
It's 4. It's 4
I'm a
shows.
soapbox queen. So we have Let's Wine a Little. We also have Ladies Listen Up. So it's creative for women who are going through the journey of unlearning what they've learned. We have Small Biz Bites, where we celebrate other small businesses. And then there is my favorite girl, Listen, where we get into topics about women's health, reproductive rights, and we just sort of shoot the breeze. So I'm excited to be here as well to have this conversation.
I'm super excited to have every single one of you here. This is going to be an amazing conversation, and so we'll get right into it. I want to start a little bit. First of all, condolences, in case anybody happens to be watching, condolences to his family. This is something that's really hard. And this was, I want to share something. This was interesting because I don't consider myself someone that generally has parasocial relationships with characters on television.
Mhm.
I'm a TV addict, okay? I am a media addict, hence why I teach what I teach, hence why I study what I studied, hence why I do what I do. But I've never really got into these parasocial relationships with characters. I never really, and I hadn't thought that this was really that this would have an effect on me. First of all, who expected it? But when it happened, I was at the dentist and I happened to look at my phone and I said, oh, and I never gasp over things like that. I don't. So they automatically knew right away what the problem was, what happened. And it was the fact that Malcolm Jamal Warner had passed from a tragic swimming accident in Costa Rica. I didn't realize until this moment how much it felt like a piece of my childhood was gone. So anybody can answer this. What was the moment like for you? What were the feelings when you found out that he had passed?
It was really like, wow, for me, like, wow, because it's always a shocker. Nobody likes death. But when you're not expecting it and it comes and catches us by surprise, not God, but catches us by surprise, it really can knock you off your feet. I do recall, and I know my phone was ringing. My husband ran in my office and he was like, Shawana, look what happened. And of course, on social media, because of what I get to do, it immediately was on every thread. And so it really did. It caused one pause to think about his family, his life. But yeah, it really did. It kind of put a crazy feeling in the pit of my stomach. That's honestly, that's how I felt.
Wow. Anybody else? How were you feeling when you heard about this?
It was definitely it really hit to the core. I'm like you, Dr. Tachi. I'm not celebrity driven. I'm not someone that follows after folks like that. But this was really, it hit home. And I remember my cousin put it in the family chat, and I was like, "Wait, is this a joke?" I thought it was a joke at first, and then I obviously, I had go into my Google and I started searching, and I went to Wikipedia, and they had already posted it on Wikipedia, and I was like, "This is for real." Then I did I had to do my sourcing, and it really touched my heart. I was just like blown away. It again, like some folks have said, it was like a piece of your youth or I just started college when I was looking at the Cosby Show, but also the Cosby Show meant so much to me. And one, it was a great example of fatherhood, but watching Theo grow up, and then now we don't call him Theo, we call him Malcolm. And but watching him become a man, and then I follow his career, different shows that he's been on. And he's been like the kid brother or the cousin, like he's, someone said it best, America's cousin for most of us in the Black community. And because we knew him, we followed his work, and we just it just really hit home. It was one of the first tragedies to hit me like that in a while.
Absolutely. I agree, because I think the last time I really felt like this was when Chadwick Boseman passed away. And it's interesting because it made sense, because Chadwick and I did not know him, but we were on at Howard at the same time. So we probably passed each other on the yard. We probably were in the same rooms, in the same spaces, and never knew each other. So it's interesting how you can be that close to someone and not know each other, but be that profoundly affected when they're gone. And he is Black Panther, right? And so just like with Malcolm Jamal Warner, he is Theo. He was our brother. He was our cousin, like cousin in our head. You may have had a crush on him. It could have been a number of things. So interesting. Anybody else? What were your feelings when you heard about this?
I remember calling Ron. I called Ron. I was like, "Did you see that? Are you aware of what just happened?" And we talked it out. And there are a few people that we will have this really tight connection with. Prince was one of them. Michael Jackson was one. And I didn't think Malcolm would be that one for me, but he's in that list. And when I heard that he had passed away, I thought, wait, what? It's just because he's so young. Like, you're just getting into the groove in your 50s. And it was touching. And it just sort of brings that reality back to you, that you can be doing something in one moment, and then the very next second, that could be it, and just how precious life is.
Yeah.
Indeed. Go ahead, Dr. Vibe. I see you.
Yeah, for me, yes, I had feelings myself, but how many Black men spoke to me about his passing away? And so many Black men I know grew up with him and could relate to him. And it's been a long time since someone has transitioned who's been a Black man who I've seen have so much impact on Black men, saying they could relate to him, they grew up with him, and almost feeling like their brother's gone now. And the sad part of it too, and in a good way though, his family was with him, because he did have a child. And what would have been like if the child was in the US when this happened? So that's the thing, but just the impact on a number of Black men that I've spoken with it's been pretty deep.
And this is exactly why I wanted to make sure I had representation from Black men on the panel, because it may affect you profoundly differently than it does others of us, right? So Tony Lassane, who is still on our panel, even though he's not here, he says, "Looking good, people. We appreciate that, Tony. We miss you, but you're here in spirit, definitely." We also have Serena is going ahead and she is slinging the libations. Thank you so much. We need them. We're going to need them tonight. We've got both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, so take your pick for tonight. Lisa says it's so beautiful, and I don't know if what you're talking about. Go ahead and put that in the chat. I would love to acknowledge that. Our good friend DS is here. He says, "Nice to see Ron G," and hello everyone. Hello. Also, Lisa, are you saying you're getting feedback? Let me know. I'm not hearing it, but let me know if you're getting feedback. Also, Sabine, hello, another one of my cohort mates from the Fundable Founders. Wonderful. And I do hear a little bit of feedback. So guys, make sure that you are not listening to this at full speed. If you don't have earphones on, I have headphones on, Ron has headphones on. If you don't, turn down your sound a little bit, because that's just the sound cycling through somebody's speakers. Okay, so let's see. We also have, wow, Dr. Vibe is in the house. Indeed, he is. Bryson, BMZ himself, says, "What's up to me and everybody? Thank you for being here." The Full Plane says this: "So sad. I still watch The Cosby Show to this day. I watch over 3 times a week. He was part of my childhood as well, like family." Keisha Clark says, "I was in an airport and overheard someone mention a Cosby actor. I went online and wasn't ready. It left me breathless." Indeed. And Food Plane says, "Malcolm, in my opinion, is a legend. I have to agree. When we see the effect that this has on us, he really does have iconic status, and I never would have thought that. But
Mhm.
now that he's not here, we realize how important he was to the media landscape, how important he was to not just Black people, but people in general, people at large. Sabine says, I felt the same when Chadwick passed away. I posted a tribute after his passing. Absolutely. And I don't want to mess up your name. I think it's Gabagul Ovahere. I hope I'm said it properly, but thank you for being here so much. So we'll take some more. Thank you, Lisa, for your she's our tech unofficial. So thank you for letting us know. If it gets too bad, let us know. We'll try and work on it. So I want to go to this. Let me start. I'm going to go to each one of you. Ron, in particular, I want to start with you because one of the things about the Cosby Show was there were a lot of firsts that were made with the Cosby Show. And we'll get into depth in some of these things. But one thing that is interesting was this is the first time that dyslexia was covered with any real depth at all. I can't, to be honest, I can't remember where it was covered at all on a sitcom, or unless I just wasn't watching it, or in television in general. But for it to be covered on a character in a sitcom that's really popular on a Black male was just phenomenal. Now, I want you to talk about this because you have a very interesting similarity with Theo's character, with Malcolm's character, Theo.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting when I first saw it on Bill Cosby Show, and they were talking about his interactions in school and how he felt about learning and how he was trying to figure out what was wrong with him, and then a lot of the attributes that they were describing I had gone through myself, and then once they put a label to it that it was dyslexia, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's me, that is me. And then then I was able to get evaluation and all that stuff and get everything from that. But I would have never known that about myself if they did not write that into that script. And so that was really monumental. I was in my first year of college, I think, around that time, and maybe my second year of college. And it finally made sense. It was, I'm in the midst of moving and everything, and I went through my old report cards, and I was like, wow. And I saw these trend lines going through of what teachers were saying about me. But if they only knew that I had dyslexia, then they would have understood my situation. And I was a great student. I mean, I did great in school. I mean, I had I was A student in junior high school, B plus in college. But I've always been. But what it did also, it helped me understand why I use associations to help me learn. For instance, when I was in high school, I would just paint all of my questions and answers with green markers and yellow markers. And also it made me into an organized person. So I became an organizer, working later on in life, as in also working in interior design. So it was a major impact on my life. The dyslexia, and now I'm a part of the Dyslexia Association, which is global. And we're going to talk about that at another time. But and we found out that we're learning that 1 out of 2 people, 1 out of 2, has some form of dyslexia. And but yeah, it was life changing, and it made me a better person from that time on.
Was it important that it was a Black character that was experiencing this?
Oh yes, oh yeah. And first of all, it was someone that looked like me. And well, that's always the case with the Bill Cosby Show, is that all of these characters I could identify. If it wasn't me, it was my friends. So I could see Lisa Bonet's character. I could see all the different characters in the friends I had around me. And then some of them were all incorporated within myself. But that was seeing Theo's situation, that was mind blowing. It was like one of those moments you say, you know, your brain is just like, wow, this is it. This is the answer I've been looking for all my life. And it changed me.
Fantastic. And I think it's not lost on us, I'm sure, that this is the first time you had an ensemble cast, a Black ensemble cast that was showing affluence, that was putting an importance on college. Another thing that was, I went to an HBCU, so they always made sure to have some type of something in the background that denoted culture. So I think it was very important in that sense. Dr. Alicia, because you are Dr. Alicia, I really want you to speak. There's something that you posted the other day, and we'll come back to these conversation pieces, but I really want to hit on that. As Malcolm, the actor, and Malcolm, the person, you had a post up about the traumatic response that could possibly happen with the daughter because of seeing this. Could you talk a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, as the story is developing, you're hearing bits and pieces that the police are starting to report about it. And I came across a post that mentioned that his daughter was present when Malcolm Jamal Warner drowned, and that some surfers came by and saved them. And they dived down and tried to save Malcolm, and they saved her and put her on the, and carried her to shore. And I mean, I just couldn't imagine how she could be feeling. An 8-year-old girl going swimming with her dad. What a wonderful time that probably was happening in that moment on a family vacation that turned really tragic. And I was almost in tears myself, you know, about just imagining what Malcolm Jamal Warner's wife and the daughter is experiencing, and all of the regrets and the thinking that happens when you have this complicated grief. Because complicated grief is what happens when it's it's kind of an unusual way of somebody passing on. It's unpredictable. It's often in conjunction with a very tragic incident like this. And so that makes it out of the ordinary of a regular grieving process. So there's so many what ifs and so many things that's going on in the mind of an adult that experiences this. I just felt just really awful about thinking about what this little girl is experiencing, and it changes you forever. This is her story forever. And so, yeah, I felt moved to put a post up about it, just to kind of educate everybody about, you know, what it takes to heal when you have this sort of tragic event.
And so how do you begin to heal? This is interesting. This is why I wanted you to bring it up, because the thing is, we're focusing on his effect on culture, but he was also a person. And this is a very human thing that happened. So how do you begin to heal? Because of course, the biggest healing is going to be for the immediate family. But I think there's also a part of all of us that lost someone that day as well. So how do you begin to heal?
Yeah, I mean, well, number one, Malcolm Jamal Warner, that he was Theo. Like, that was my brother. I feel like I lost a brother. And I mean, just like when Prince died, I was in tears. I couldn't believe it. Prince was a big one for me, because it was such a even Prince and Theo on the Cosby Show. Like, think about the 80s. That was like a staple in my childhood. Like, Prince was the #1 artist of the 80s. The Cosby Show was the #1 TV show of the 80s. It was, you know, the #1 TV show, all Black cast. I mean, so it was a significant part of us that I feel like we've lost in this unexpected, tragic event. Yeah, he had a whole life ahead of him. He was married recently. He had this child. He was actually squeaky clean. Like, we never heard any scandal related to Malcolm Jamal Warner. He wasn't having no white parties. He wasn't no baby oil in his background, you know. And so he lived the way in his music and his poetry was just really remarkable. That song he did with Robert Glasper, I used to listen to that constant rotation.
Yes.
And my husband reached out to him because they talk every once in a while on and I was just like, ask Malcolm, did he write that song? And he was like, yeah, I wrote it. And I was like, that is just so beautiful that you wrote that. And I'm sending messages to him through my husband. And then finally my husband was like, I think my wife got a crush on you. I was like, I got a crush on Theo. And I was like, I do. I have a crush on him, you know? And I mean, it just, he was just an upstanding person. And I think, you know, on the screen, the characters that he chose, he understood that it makes a difference. How I portray myself in the media makes a difference. The roles I take as an actor makes a difference. And how he lived his life personally, it seems like everything was just as beautiful. And yeah, I think that was really wonderful. And also, even with Bill Cosby's influence on him, he spoke very highly of Bill Cosby. And Bill Cosby was the #1 TV dad. Remember that? So he got voted. The TV Guide voted Bill Cosby as the #1 TV dad. And so Theo has, even though Bill Cosby has some scandal, Theo has basically talked about Bill Cosby in a way where he's focused on the positive and not some of these other experiences connected to Bill Cosby. But people like Malcolm Jamal Warner, he's still able to maintain a great sense of himself and his own identity, even breaking away from Theo. I even think like Felicia Rashad, she's still Claire in people's mind. She's been able to carry herself as Claire. So I just think it's just really beautiful. And the part about dyslexia, I want to comment on that if you don't mind. Yeah, I mean, it is such it could be such a stigmatized diagnosis. And how wonderful is it for them to have an episode to focus on that? And I think the key piece in that episode was the response of the parents. They were modeling for us as parents on how the best way to respond to a child that's struggling. And sometimes they need a little bit more support. They didn't shame him. They didn't stigmatize him. They didn't make him feel like there's something wrong with him. They really stopped and listened to him and gave him the support that they need. And that was a wonderful model for all of America to see on great parenting skills.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then to the second part of my question, what suggestions do you have for those of us that could be struggling with this? What do we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to just reflect. I mean, when the thing is that what it could bring up for us, this is a loss of an icon of the 80s. Mm-hmm. All of us have had losses. So it could be reminiscent of a past loss that we've experienced. And so it could bring up some stuff for us. And I think that we should just honor it. We should just stop. We should pause. We should have conversations like this and take time to just dig into how we feel and connect it. Explore the range of feelings that you have about a loss. Loss is terrible. It's, you know, no matter, even if it's a loss that's anticipated, it's nothing prepares you for something that's important to you. So, you know, children who have lost a parent, it could be coming up. Some things could be coming up for you in that way as well. But I think that there's no way to bring that person back and just get into the reality of the fact that we have to honor people's memories. We have to remind ourselves that life is very precious and it can be taken away from you. I mean, the undertow of a vacation could be a significant change in the life of an entire family, like the Warner family. And so I think it just reminds us to live our life to the fullest. Live our life to the fullest, because you never know when it's your turn to go.
Amen. Live your life to the fullest. So I'm going to, when I do this little break. We're going to come back, and I've got a question for our soul Canadian on the panel, Dr. Vibe. But first, I want to say hello to everyone. If you are just joining us, welcome into the fold. This is MediaScope, all things media, tech, and pop culture. We are here every week around 8-ish, and we've got a great panel for you today. This is a special I hate when you guys remember with different strokes, it's like a very special different strokes. I hated that because your mother or somebody was always there. But this is actually a very special MediaScope. We're talking about the life and work of Malcolm Jamal Warner. And so thank you for being here. All the information is here below. Make sure that you come back. If this is your first time, you are now part of the MediaScope Massive. Welcome. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching us over on the tubing of the U or YouTubing. Who am I? I'm Dr. Tachi, media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. And I'm here with these fantastic individuals that are next to me or behind me. They'll come up in just a moment. I do want to take some comments. Cass says his poetry was awesome. It was truly phenomenal. And you could tell it came from heart and soul, definitely. Also, Keisha says, be inside of the grief collectively. Miss Elise is here. Hello, Miss Elise. Welcome. And she says, exactly. And the food plane says, yes, it's not the years in your life that matters as much as the life in your years. That makes it that the years in your life as much as the life in your years. Absolutely. 100%. Felicia, hello. Fifi says Malcolm transcended childhood stardom elegantly. I have to 100% agree, and we will talk about that transition shortly. And Miss Elise says Malcolm had developed such an amazing voice. Absolutely. Pradnia says, I waited until he grew up to have a crush on him. Well, he just aged like, he was a boy, then he became a man, so I could see where that came from. Okay, somebody, that's a favorite moment. And you know what? I would love for you all to put your favorite moment. It does not have to be the Cosby Show, although that may be what you're most familiar with, but from any of the shows that he was on, anything that he did, do you have favorite moments? Let me know. Put them in the chat because I'd love to honor him by reading out those favorite moments. We already have one. I love this one too. Dance Mania was my favorite. Also, when the men got pregnant, as food played. My favorite, the Gordon Gartrell shirt episode. But I also love Dance Mania. That was hilarious. Let's see. Cass says those are the kind of moments when a person realizes they what I have to let me know what you were trying to say going through it. And there are others that can relate and understand. Understandable, Ron. And I know it's a typo. Just let me know what you were trying to say. And Miss Elise, who was an art person, 100%. They always had beautiful Black art on the show. So they were showcasing Black artists. They were of all types, performing and visual. They were showcasing other Black actors. They were showcasing HBCUs. It was a showcase of Black culture on display, and it was the most beautiful thing. Fantastic. And Serena says, wow, to Ron. Yeah, the story is amazing, which is why I wanted him to share it. So let's see. I-95 Expressway. Thank you for putting that in there. What fond memory do you have of him or a favorite episode? So you know what? Let's ask the distinguished panel. Oh, sorry. Caught you, Dr. Alicia. It is dinner time. So what fond memories do you have? Actually, before we get to that, let me go to Dr. Vibe. Dr. Vibe, as the sole Canadian on the panel, you are now speaking for all of Canada.
Oh, mercy.
Even the Northwest Territories and the Yukon Territory. You're speaking for all of them. Nova Scotia. You're speaking for all of them. I'm kidding, but let me know, although there is a sizable Black community in Nova Scotia, what was the effect that the Cosby Show and Malcolm Jamal Warner at large had on young Black Canadian men or Black Canadian men, or was there any effect?
Yeah, well, I think a number of different, not only when he was on the show, but after his showtime, he embraced his true self. in the public eye. Like I saw a clip the other day, and I don't know if anyone's seen it. He's basically saying a poetry about being Black in front of this orchestra, and the orchestra members were all non-melanated, and I saw some uncomfortable people there, but he spoke his truth. And he also, for a lot of Black men, he's created a legacy that uplifts the next generation, and he also supported and guided each other through shared experiences. Getting back to dyslexia, and I just wanted to add on to it, I agree with Dr. Alicia, how the parents handled it is so important. And they highlighted his struggle with dignity, and his family rallied around him, and that was huge for all parents, but especially us Black parents, because we needed, and we always need, that positivity when it comes to the Black family, especially when in times of adversity, and that show handled it with such grace. But yeah, the Black men here, there's so many things I could go on forever and ever in regards to, but he also navigated stereotypes.
Yeah.
And also mentorship and brotherhood.
Yes.
Supporting and guiding each other through unique experiences. So there's so many things as a young Black man who had his health challenges, he modeled not only during the show, but he modeled even more after the show. Because for many people, when they're in the spotlight, after they have that big show, you don't hear from them again. He was grace during the show and after the show, and he just did things and he let his actions speak.
Absolutely.
If I just may add on to that,
you also, absolutely may.
Because how many times have we seen so many childhood stars' lives in tragedy? And I have to say, the kids from the Bill Cosby Show, they all have successful careers in whatever they're doing. And again, looking at Malcolm's life and what he was always conscious of his roles, the roles he played, they always had some kind of meaning, or they had some kind of uplifting for the male, for Black men to be able to look at, what Black youth or college Black students could look up to. He picked his roles very, very meticulously. And so those are the things I think of really also that really impact a lot of us, especially we dudes. We look at his life and say, wow, this is an amazing gentleman. And we watched him grow up.
Indeed, we watched him grow up. I do want to, before I go on, back to the dyslexia thing for a moment. If you recall, there in that episode where he found out exactly what it was, he said to his parents, all this time, you have been blaming me, thinking I'm lazy, etc., but it was this all along. And to your point about how they rallied around him with that, often, listen, we all know Black parents are not wrong. So instead of, they don't apologize. Instead of apologizing, they're like, there's food in the kitchen, right? So to actually own up to the mistakes that they made, it really said parents are not perfect. They try, they just want the best for you. They try. So I love the fact that he called them out. Listen, no, you said I was lazy. You're blaming me for this. And that is so real, because parents often will blame you for whatever without knowing what and it's not necessarily the parents' fault. It's society that puts in place, this is the way things should be. And if you don't meet up to this, something is wrong with you. So instead of investigating what the issue could be, we automatically put it on the child or automatically put it on the person. So I loved to see that, where there was this realization, oh yeah, we did blame him for that. We're sorry.
Oh yeah.
I love to see that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Gwendolyn, I want to come around to you, and then I'm going to come around to Shawana, and then we'll take some more comments. I'm really wondering the effect that Malcolm Jamal Warner had on you, either from, let's take it, for example, from the Cosby Show perspective, when he played Theo. What did that do for a young Black girl growing up in Texas to see that type of representation?
Oh man, you read my mind, Dr. Tachi. Because my dad just knew
Wavelength.
that I was going to go to college in New York City, which I did. Ended up at NYU. So for him, it was like reenacting Dr. Huxtable's role, right? He really loved it. Education became a thing in our house. But if I may say so, you know, I didn't have a crush on Theo. You know, now Carl Payne, he kind of caught the eye. But I will say this, like someone else mentioned, when he got older, I was like, oh, look at that. Okay. So, you know, he he ages, I'm just saying, he aged extremely well. In that regard, there was definitely some feelings there, but I'm going to have to jump on the education bandwagon and talk about dyslexia too. I mean, I know we're all talking about it, but as a person who volunteers now in an elementary school working with kindergarten kids and currently first graders, I can now see where maybe there is this invisible disability that is there. And so when I see these kids, and I get that teachers can't help them, but I think in the back of my head, having know this now, it would be great to have a family show how to rally around a child who has a disability that you may not understand and that you can't see, because we had it. Like, we had it. So we got to see how when your child is not meeting society's expectations, which are its own little thing, that there is still a way to say, I love my kid. I'm here for my kid. I'm going to do what's necessary for my child to get everything that he, she, or they need. We don't have that example anymore. And more to that, for another child to see this kid, right? Because they need to see that there is somebody who's just like me, who has this problem, if you will, this disability. We're missing that. We're missing it. So although it was not a direct thing, when I work with these kids, I think about that because I got it from someplace, right? Like, TV does have an impact on us. Those characters, they do impact us in one way or another. And that shows up in my volunteering. But I will say it again. Now, when he was in Suits, okay, he was kind of cute. I was like, okay, Malcolm, I see you. I see you. Just saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely so. Let's bring you down. Yes. So I think for many of us, we know him as Theo, right? That was the biggest role. He was, I think that is the longest role he had. What was it? Was it 7 years? Not
8
just
years.
7 seasons. 8 years.
8 years.
8 years.
And he
remember,
was the first, young son, on a black son on television. There had never before his role been a black son that was a child, young person on TV to a black family.
And that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes, because there is this unfounded fear of young black men. So to have a young black man in a major role on it, that's huge. That's huge. And if you ask my opinion as a TV addict, there hasn't been a show that's been able to adequately depict the way Cosby did. Everything else ends up being overly slapstickish, or you know, so it was comedy, but it was comedy wrapped with lessons, wrapped with culture, etc. And I haven't seen that since. And Malcolm Jamal Warner was part and parcel of that entire thing. So 100%. 100%. Go ahead, Dr. Alicia.
Yeah, I want to say something about that. They had child psychiatrists and psychologists as consultants for that show.
Yes,
they had
absolutely.
Alvin Toussaint and James Comer. They had them consulting, so they had influence. And I mean, my favorite episode was when Theo fell in love. He fell in love with Justine.
Yes.
And I think like that is something we rarely could see, like a young black kid falling in love with a woman and then having his heart broken and how he dealt with it. And, you know, it was like really beautiful. He later on, I think, started dating her in real life.
He did. He did.
A beautiful couple. But, you know, I think you're right. I think the Cosby Show, we can't talk about Malcolm Jamal Warner without talking about the Cosby Show. But I think like the Cosby Show, now that I'm like thinking about it even more, listening to you guys talk about it, the Cosby Show was part of that era where the parents were smart and the children were trying to outdo the parents. If you've noticed recently, comedies, it's always like the parents are clueless and stupid, and it's the children that's really intelligent. So it's
Correct.
like this switch in television comedy pieces where it's like the parents are kind of dumb. They don't know what's going on, and the children are constantly outsmarting the parent. And that's the trend now. So it was part of that era. And, you know, people did make fun of this show about it being elitist, and that, you know, Theodore Huxtable, like, what kind of name is that? It was almost like people thought they were just this bougie family that doesn't represent Black people. And Black people are like, hold on, we come in all colors, shapes, sizes, and socioeconomic status, you know? So it's like, no, this is who we are. There's tens and thousands of families that live like this. So it was something no one had ever seen before. But I remember like just his name, Theo. Well, I don't know his full name on that show, but it was something that
Theodore Aloysius Huxtable.
Aloysius Huxtable. Like it was very like boule-ish, you know, as if this kind of education.
Very Jack and Jill, yes.
Jack and Jill. And it was just a part of us that was very real to me and a lot of other people that I knew. We didn't have to be in Good Times, you know, we didn't have to be in the projects, you know. There's also us who are doctors and lawyers, and that needed to be shown as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think that this is a big point, that for the first time, I mean, if we're talking about Cosby as an institution, you saw a family that was not afraid of having money, could never. Here's the thing that got me. You mentioned Good Times. As much as I loved Good Times, they could never get out of the ghetto. They were this close, and then something pulled them back in to Cabrini Green. I was like, oh, come on. Like when Velma was getting married to the football player, and then he tripped, and then he couldn't play. I was like, come on, you just want them to stay poor writers, don't you? But that was always the thing. I mean, save the Jeffersons came along and they were upwardly mobile. However, it was wrapped with so much comedy. As much as I love the Jeffersons, it was wrapped in a lot of slapstick and a lot of comedy. So it was almost as if you couldn't take the fact that they were upwardly mobile seriously. This was the first time that you could seriously take that. And let's say that not every family, just like not every family was the Cosbys, not every family was the Evans family either. So I saw a lot of Cosby type families. And for people to say that that wasn't realistic for me, am I not a human? So I think we, even ourselves as Black people, we put ourselves in boxes so tight that we refuse to see that as something that could be our reality. So great point. Did anybody else want to mention something?
I want to say real quick, because
go ahead.
Because you actually mentioned Good Times. The one thing that I do recall is, and it was on their way of ending the series, is when they finally showed that it looked like everybody was doing well, right? If my memory served me, JJ was off doing his art, and they waited till the series, after all of those years were about to be done, when they did say everybody is really literally about to make it out of the ghetto. And so when you said that, it just recalled, like, wait a minute, how did they tie that in a bow when they ended it? Right? They did show that you can come from down the way. So I'm glad. I mean, it took them forever and 1,000 years to do that, but they did eventually do that. And it brings me back even to thinking about Theo's character and all of the things that they did. Even thinking about, when you think about young men, right, and peer bonding and friendship, it's like being able to look at him and Cockroach. I don't want to mix up the two. His best friend,
Cockroach.
Yeah, okay. You know who else I was
Carl
thinking
Payne.
about?
Yep.
Yeah. Thinking about them in brotherhood, that was one of the first signs of seeing brotherhood. It was one of the first signs of, because I do have a son. I have 2 daughters and a son. So even looking at this and even watching the reruns with my children, because of course that was during the time when I was, much younger, but then because they did the reruns so often, watching that again with my own children, it's like they took this opportunity to touch on issues that you wouldn't typically hear. And so I applaud, minus the other scandal, I have to applaud Bill Cosby and the writers and everyone for the amazing job that they did to bring out a lot of issues that just were not being discussed, especially in that era. And when I think about it being a generational gap, all the way from Gen X, Gen Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, there was something that we all can still learn, even if you watched a rerun. You can see where they had fun, they had their issues. And I'm pretty sure people, if you had a large family, you would then say, which one of those family members am I most alike? Right. And because I'm a creative, it's like, who did I see parts of myself in? I believe at some point, if you really watch it, it's like, who am I like? Or do I just like them because they're feisty, or because they're shy, or because they're curious? And it allowed us to really tap into who we were if you were a child or a person that really looked into being more self-aware, where it could really hit home and teach you some lessons that you may not have been able to have in your own home. Because I know it has been through some amazing television where me and my children have had the opportunity to come together to then say, let's discuss this, where it has really truly opened up the platform for us as a culture to say, this is something okay to talk about. And me, myself, some of you know, I do have 2 adult children, but I also have a minor child who is still in high school. So there's definitely a generational gap there. And so the way she responds to different things and how we were saying earlier, they would just blame the child. In this case, it's kind of different in real life now, having those conversations with my now junior in high school, where she's like, but no, Ma. And then so that means we have to work through it. And I have to really listen at the things that she's saying, because they are coming from a different lens. And a lot of times, sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So I just appreciate what they did with that whole series, that whole sitcom, and what he did to represent Black young men and even older men beyond that television show. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so very much for that. Let's take some comments and questions. And remember, audience, you are part of this conversation as well. We'd love to have your questions if you have anything that you want to bring out, but definitely loving the comments. So we have Shawana had said Malcolm Jamal was used as an example to give so many different life lessons. Indeed. And Lisa Seeley says, yes, for me, it was a trigger thinking of his wife and daughter after losing their husband and dad. Unfortunately, I know that feeling. It's off. Yeah. And I thought about that, Lisa. So I'm sure that it means something very different to you. Definitely. Ryan O'Neill Knight is here, the co-host of the Morning Vibe. Hello, Ryan, all the way from Toronto, Ontario. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And G says that she loved his episode on Suits. Which episode, G, are you talking about?
Okay, so this is when Mike Ross.
You got quiet, so this must be good. Right.
Mike Ross went to, he was in prison. And so he was the guy trying to help Mike Ross come to terms with his foolishness. And so, in so many ways, he was the he was like one of the warden people, he was the people who work with the inmates to see if they could be rehabilitated. And so they had this back and forth, and there was a lot of great conversation there, talking about self-awareness and being honest and the whole 9 yards. And the man was looking buff, so I watched for all kinds of reasons, but it was a good episode. It's a good episode. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, on Suits. And then Ryan says, I loved him on The Resident, but the financial expenses example was my favorite. Interesting. He had, I don't know if you all saw, and I lost it, but on Key and Peele, he was a guest one time, and he did this whole Black Republican skit with them. It's hilarious. I'll have to send it around. around, but he did that. So he did a lot of different things. We know him and think about him as Theo on the Cosby Show, but he did so many other things in addition to directing, in addition to the poetry, and it just his art felt real. It didn't feel forced, like I'm doing this because I need to make money because I'm an actor. And this is it. Every single thing he did had thought and purpose. At least it came off that way. Sabine says her favorite moment was when he learned about adult. Oh, yes. That was a good one. That was a good episode where he was in the real world apartments, and they listen, they came up with some. That is one of my favorites as well. Let's see. The Food Plant says jazz was showcased as well as the importance of education. Indeed. Let's see. So Bryson said that he saw him on Sons of Anarchy on FX and a couple of episodes, 911 on ABC, indeed, and the last episodes of him. Exactly. Yes. Sir Benjamin, hello. Go ahead,
Dr. Patrick. I just want to add some more things about him on the Cosby Show. So him as Theo was a game changer for a lot of young boys. Because before Theo, was rare to see, as Ron mentioned, it was rare to see a young black man on TV who was just allowed to be himself.
Yeah.
Smart, but not perfect. Funny, but not a stereotype. And loved and supported by his family, but also challenged by them. He was also facing regular issues, school, peer pressure, learning differences, growing pains. But the difference was he was allowed to be vulnerable.
Well, let me ask this of all of you. This is a great point, but it feels like you are only allowed to be vulnerable in certain spaces. So do you think it's a result of his character having some affluence around him, being in places, in schools where there were other people like him, where it wasn't taboo to be yourself? Do you think that I would
say yes. Because our environment is a big key. I really would, because if you don't give your kids the space, if you don't give them the space to know that their voice is important and that they can express themselves, that's why we find out stuff much later. And one of the things that I learned too, I always grant my mother grace because I'm the second oldest of 5. And I always remember to grant my mother some grace because I know that she was only doing the best that she could, especially during the time that she had me. She was the second oldest of 17. My grandmother had 17 children. Wow. And so to know that me being a mom, having 3 children, it's just, I wanted to make sure that my children knew that I was a safe place for them. So those are things that I always kept in mind. That's why we took opportunities, television, to look at what was happening on those shows like that, to then see if there was an open door when children don't know how to talk about something, to where maybe we discuss it after the episode is over.
Absolutely. Great point. Thank you for that. So I think, let me get to some more of these. Sir Benjamin said that the highlight was what HBCU sweat top would Dr. Cosby wear. 100%. I think that and Different World was really the first exposure that many people had to what a historically Black college and university was. Those 2 shows and School Days, I'm telling you, those 3 pieces of media unilaterally had the effect of making so many people choose HBCU. And that was something the culture needed. So I loved it as well. Was somebody going to say something?
No.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just thinking, so the other night I saw a quick clip of Steve Harvey's show, and it was about Romeo and how his girlfriend had bought all this stuff for him and he hadn't bought anything. And he was telling Steve that, hey, I'm going to get her something next week. And he's like, that's only good if you're married. And he's like, I had to spend the money to pay the light bill. And he was like, well, just tell her that. He said, well, I can't tell her that because I'm Romeo. I'm the man. And so I think about how, as Shawana was mentioning, our environments give us the space to have support and go through all of our emotions, and not having that kind of family on TV. Now, there was Family Matters, right? So we did have some others, but it was different. There was clearly a shift in how we saw young Black men and just Black men in general on TV. to where had he not been in that affluent family, he probably would not have had the space to go through all of the emotions and be as honest and as authentic as he was. Money doesn't buy you happiness, but it can bring some comfort and some other opportunities. So I do believe it did have an impact.
Absolutely. You're 100%. 100. There's just something that comes with having opportunity and sometimes affluence that affords you the ability to just be you. You can't afford to be you in any way you want when you're just trying to make it. When you live in a neighborhood that, you're going to be not only, talked about, but maybe beat up for that. So it's not to your advantage to do that. So very understandable, very understandable. I want to, as we are starting to wrap this up, because this is great. I love this. I love this. I want to actually turn our sights to legacy. In your opinion, what was the legacy that Malcolm Jamal Warner's work built for, let's take young actors that are coming up now? What do you think his legacy is? What legacy has he built for young actors?
If I can get permission to do on that, I was going to say this to him, but I think I'll share it now. He built a career on integrity, versatility, and meaningful representation. And he never shied away from roles or projects that challenge stereotypes or push conversations forward. And for many Black men, he's proof that it's possible to evolve, adapt, and stay true to yourself in an industry that often tries to box us in. So that's what I have to say on that one.
Wonderful. Anyone else? His legacy?
I think the legacy is definitely a roadmap even now, as I was just looking at him a year ago on a TV show here in New York City. We have what's called Here and Now, and it talks about different people that are in the Black community making a difference. And so it was himself and his co-host, where they have a podcast, but just watching him, Gwendolyn says this a lot. She likes to play with her crayons. And he was allowed to play with all of his crayons, meaning he was able to direct. He was able to act. He was able to get a Grammy for music. He was able to share. He was also protective of his family, which he's said many times, but yet be transparent. I mean, those nuances and those balancing acts and being able to do it successfully is something I think is that most young Black brothers could grow from and can pull from. And that is not corny and that is not being weak, but they can learn a whole lot from mastering how to balance all those areas in your life.
Well said. Anyone else?
I just want to jump in. This is directed to Dr. Alicia. Ron just said two important B words. I'd love you to get your insight on balancing and barriers from your therapeutic background, especially for us Black people, balancing and barriers.
Balancing and balance and then barriers.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this as everybody was talking. When I think about Malcolm Jamal Warner, to me, it just reminds me to be confident. There was a sense of he knew who he was and he wasn't ashamed of who he was. He didn't feel like he needed to be something other than what he was. And that he was just everything he did, every post on social media, every song he came out with, every role that he embarked upon, he just seemed really confident in his abilities. And we live in a world where being Black, just being Black, and it can make you feel like something's wrong with you. But we can all kind of look to him and think, oh, this is a man that didn't really feel like he needed to be chasing women. He created a song that was reflective of himself and not get on the bandwagon of what was trending at the time. He just seemed, I don't know, he just seemed to, I don't know, he didn't seem to need to be in the spotlight 100% of the time. He didn't feel like he needed to marry somebody who was super duper popular or be a power couple. He married a woman that he said he deeply loved. And he was like, that's the lady I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. So, yeah, I mean, I think with balance, he's been able to establish and maintain a marriage and to raise a child in terms of barriers. And he was able to maintain that. I hope this is not the end of an era. Maybe, I know we can never go backwards, but it would be great for going forward, we could just be inspired by the Cosby Show and by this role. We're all sitting here talking about this. If he hadn't passed away, we wouldn't have this conversation today. So he's bringing us together in memory and honor for what he's done and his legacy at the age of 55 or 54 or 55.
54, yeah.
54, his legacy, it's there. And we can, we can reflect on that and learn from him. So confidence, I think I get my own confidence just by thinking about Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I wanted to piggyback, or I hate that term, but in tandem with that, it's great to be inspired, but we need to be active as well, rather than passive. What actionable steps can we take to really incorporate what we've seen from what Malcolm Jamal Warner has done and shows like Cosby, etc.? What actionable steps can we take to actually include those in our lives?
I think we need to be, I'm answer that while I'm here. I think we really need to be true to ourselves. We all know what we want to do in life. And we know that day-to-day tasks or things that we think can get in the way, worry and anxiety about the future. What if this happens? What if that happens? And living in the past and being remorseful and regretful about something that happened in the past that was less than ideal. I think that we need to learn and explore and try to figure out who we are and our purpose in life, and just have the integrity to follow that, no matter what anyone else says. No one can live your life for you. And I think that is the life that Malcolm Jamal Warner lived. And I think that is what we need to take with us. Just be our authentic, transparent self. Yeah.
Well said. Anybody else want to speak to legacy before we wrap this? Yes, my dear. Go ahead.
Are you going
You're on
Shawana?
mute. Go ahead.
Look, myself or Gwendolyn?
You pick. Flip a coin.
Okay. Since I'm speaking, yes, I will actually say this and leave with this. One of the things that for people who do know who I am big on visibility. And in this regards, what we're doing right now is video visibility. The thing I think about when I think about Malcolm Jamal Warner is, as it relates to legacy, his legacy will continue to echo, right? The fame will fade. A lot of the things that we do will fade, but legacy is supposed to be an echo. And because of what he has done in his life, I know him, like so many that have gone on before him, his life will not be forgotten. What it is that we should be about our business with being more visible, to be seen, be heard, and known for our brilliance. And for a few of us, we do and are benefited by the bonus of actually being paid for what we get to do. And so we can look to him and stick our chests out with pride, for me, and just say, well done, right? If this was a good book, well done, thy good and faithful servant, because he lived a life that people will talk about from now to eternity. And that's why we have to, because no man know the day nor the hour. We have to be about the business and show up in who we are, not just whose we are, but who we are, because we don't know when that time may come for us. And we want people to be able to then look to our character to say, that is someone who I borrowed from their confidence. Like Dr. Alicia mentioned about confidence. And confidence is, like you said, Dr. Tachi, is things that are actionable. Confidence is something that is built. You can borrow mine, you can feel my energy, and you can say, oh, I like that, I like him, I like her. But what can we do today that our future self will thank us for, and that our legacies will echo as well? So we honor the life of Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Amen. Hear, hear. Before we talk to Miss Gwendolyn, I would like to put up your information. I should have been doing this all along. If you want to get in touch with Shawana, she is Shawana Kennedy of Kennedy Media. This is her website. She's KennedyMediaLLC.com. And she is I am Shawana K on Instagram and other social platforms. So I'm going to have to go through everybody and do this. All right, go ahead, Miss Gwendolyn.
Well, here's my part of it, and I'll add on to what Ron shared. I do believe in playing with all the crayons. So when I think about Malcolm, the one thing I take as a creative, and we are all a creative, is that we are creating our legacy. A number of us are not going to get the limelight, but there will be just as many people at our homegoing service or our celebration when we leave this earth after we have done our purpose, when we have finished our job. So for each of us who are here, two things I believe that are actionable, and I had this chat with Miss Elise just the other day. One, keep creating what you're creating, because I believe the good Lord made all of us creative. We have a lot of different paths, and our purpose is to go out and share our genius. So I do believe in that. But the second part is, if there is any one person who has ever in any shape or form impacted you, we should give them those flowers today. We should just go ahead and say, you know what? Thank you for creating this podcast. Thank you for writing that book. Thank you for giving this post. Thank you for that cool cup, whatever it is, because a lot of us don't get to hear how we have impacted someone. I am sure the people who know Malcolm have shared that. I remember his interview on The View, and Raven Simone shared how he impacted her. So sometimes we get to hear that thank you, and a lot of times we don't. But since we're in this moment and we're fully aware of what's going on, then why not keep creating? Because that is your legacy, is how you live forever. But then also tell the other people who have impacted you how they've impacted you, and tell them thank you. And please keep doing what you're doing, because it's changing my life. It has left an impact. A good number of us are the unsung heroes. We are making a change. Dr. Tachi, we have been thanking you since I don't know when. But people need to know. They need to hear it. We need to share it. It does not dim your lights. So go ahead and send that note tomorrow morning. If not, you can do a text or an email.
And in case somebody wants to give you their flowers, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on YouTube, GR Houston Jack, and then Instagram, Black Power Bunny. My email is in all of those. I'm good for email. Them DMs, I don't get there very often. I'm sorry, people. I'm like 3 weeks behind right now.
So you're Black Power Bunny on
Instagram,
IG,
yes.
And you are
GR Houston Jack on YouTube.
GR Houston Jack on YT. Okay. Sorry, I'm putting this in as we do it. All right. So this is how you can get in touch with Gwendolyn. So make sure you get at her. If she does a lot of different things. So if you want to work with a photographer, if you want some career coaching, life coaching, if you just want somebody that's awesome, to get in contact with her. Fantastic. Thank you. So now let's go over to Ron. Ron, final words and how people can get in touch with you.
Well, my final words is that again, when this happened this week with Malcolm, it reiterated, it kind of solidified, it really cemented in the direction of where I'm going. And I like to encourage people that are older, people that are 50 plus, and that it is not the end. You cannot see your life as, a lot of people when they get to the 50 mark or they're in the 50s, they're like, oh, I just go to work, I take care of the house, I do the basics. And if you have a dream, as long as you are alive, make that dream happen. Those dreams that you are experiencing, they don't come from nowhere. I like to say they're divinely just poured into us, and it's just waiting for us to act upon it, to create what that dream is that's embedded in us. Some want to sing, some want to dance, some want to do art, some want to be, travel the world. If you are alive, you have the energy, you have the health, you have the mindset, you have the abilities, it can happen. And so this week really made it very plain and clear that one, life is short. And in the Black community, and I'm going to use, obviously there's many people that are watching, but we in the Black community, especially in the media, for us that do podcasting or people that are in hip hop, we've seen a lot of fame. I'm not even going to use the word famous, but popular people pass away over the last 5 years. And we're like, wait a minute, they're so young. How is this possible? How is this happening? They're so young. I would say let's use this as a catalyst. One, take care of ourselves. Two, to make sure we live each day with purpose. You only have each day we wake up is today I will live with purpose. And whatever that purpose may be, you know that purpose. You know why you're here. And I have one of my friends that says, I don't know why I'm here. I say, oh, come on. There's a lot of good things that you do. Dig deep. Look into yourself. Look inside yourself and say, wait a minute. I like doing this. You will discover a wealth of who you are. But anyway, I'll let it in there. But life is short. Live your best life now, and don't be afraid to start today. It's never too late to make your dreams come true. And where can you find me? You can find me at Ron Lewis Photos on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all those places. And so look me up at Ron Lewis Photos on IG and also YouTube and all the other platforms. And I do go into my DMs. So if you want to reach out to me, you have questions, you want, hey Ron, how can I do this? And you see something that I'm doing that may inspire you. I love sharing. So make sure you reach out to me, talk to me, DM, slide into my DMs, as they say, and I will definitely get back to you.
The doors of the church are open. Dr. Alicia, we didn't put your information up. How can people, final words, and how can people reach you?
You can reach me at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. That's my website. If you want to contact me, you can also follow me on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. I'm on TikTok. I am on YouTube, all things social media, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Final words is Ashe to Malcolm Jamal Warner. Great, wonderful man, great legacy he's leaving behind. Condolences to his family. I hope, I don't know, who knows what people in his family, if they've been listening to any of the comments and the pouring of sentiment. I hope that they get a whiff of what we've been talking about, and that they feel encouraged and they can find some strength and can get through this, where they can get to a place of acceptance. It's going to be a process. Everybody grieves in their own different way, but we hope that they are comforted by just not only our video, but there's been just, hundreds and hundreds of videos that have been, and pictures and condolences, and I hope that it gets to them. Yeah.
Amen. Dr. Vibe, we did not get your info. So final words, and how can we reach you?
Well, first of all, rest in power, Malcolm. And I can only speak for myself. You have challenged me to be better, because you always challenge yourself to be better. Also, I'm going to pick up on two quick things that were said by our friends here tonight. One thing with Ron, Dr. Tachi, you and I have a very good friend, Mario Armstrong. And one of the things that he says is dreams don't have an expiry date. One thing. And Gwendolyn, in regards to saying special things to people, this will be 30 seconds. A few years ago, I met a gentleman named Robert Leung. And one of the first things he said to me is something about a living eulogy. And I said, Robert, what do you mean, living eulogy? That doesn't make sense. And he said, don't you realize, Dr. Vibe, a lot of times people say the best they want to say about someone when they've transitioned. And he said, Dr. Vibe, if you care about people in your life, if they're special people, write them a letter, get them together with you, preferably face-to-face, if it has to be on video camera, and read that letter of caring, or those words of caring to them, and give it to them, because you never know what people are going through, and we always need that encouragement. And then finally, if you want to get a hold of me, a number of years ago, people said, Dr. Vibe, you're Google-licious. So just put the DR. Yeah, there we go. That's it. So I'm Google-licious. So that's the way I want to end it off. But thank you so much, Dr. Tachi, for bringing us all together in this celebration of a great Black man who needs to be celebrated when he was alive. And I think he's still alive. We just have to carry on the legacy. Be well and keep the faith.
Fantastic. You all are absolutely fantastic. Thank you for humoring me anytime I come up with a cockamamie idea in 2 seconds, and you all always say yes. I would be remiss if I did not do a pom-pom cheers for Shawana, who just celebrated her birthday. I won't say what chapter you celebrated, but she just celebrated her, but you won't believe it.
I'm not ashamed. I'm not one of those people. I'm not ashamed of my age.
Okay. You can say it if you want, because you're not going to tell people I told how old you were. So, yes. So she just celebrated chapter 57. Everybody wish Shawana a very happy birthday.
Happy
Fantastic.
birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Shawana. Thank you for being here and doing this. Let me get some quick comments before we do this. Hannah loves what you said, Ron. Don't be afraid to start today. And that's right, ushers, close the doors, because we're not done yet. Close the doors. Cass says, Dr. Vibe, in international vibe and connection, great male perspective. And thank you. You're so welcome. You know, I love to do this type of thing. Cass is giving a clap for everyone. Also, I don't know how to pronounce your name, and I don't want to butcher it, but thank you for being here. It says, amen, amen, and amen. Cass says, GRH is awesome. Indeed, she is. And our good friend says, Imperium says, his passing to me is an awakening of spirit, individuality, kindness, and strength. I love that. I love that indeed. And also says we need to be passing the baton in many ways to each new generation. Don't gatekeep. If I can leave you all with that, if anything he taught us was not to gatekeep the information. Do not gatekeep. because information only remains information if it's shared. Otherwise, it's lost. And if we want our culture to continue, we've got to share the information and pass it down 100%. So thank you so much, Sir Benjamin. He'll take his last. Sir Benjamin says Malcolm Jamal Warner stayed true to being a Black teen growing up, becoming a Black man, setting an example of what character, integrity, calmness, kept his personal life private, and be successful. So was an example of that. And Elise says he also demonstrated a level of fearlessness. This is why I love the MediaScope audience, because the gems that are dropped, and you all have dropped gems as well. This was a Friday night well spent. Rest well, Brother Malcolm. We will miss you, but your legacy lives on, and we will do our best to make you proud. So with that, thank you all so much for being here. Audience, guests, the panel, because you know you're coming back. This is not the only time you're going to be here. So thank you so much for being here. Stay on, don't leave. I want to say goodbye to you all properly, but I'm going to say goodbye to the audience now. And I'll end the way I always end. I love you for watching. I bid you adieu. You guys, myself, this wonderful panel, and our good friend, Malcolm Jamal Warner. We are all going to exit stage left. So until next Friday, my friends, cheers. Bye, everyone.
Close the doors, walk across the corridor. We got something to show you. Media is our repertoire. Fed up with the same news, no channel to use. Cruise control mentalities. Here we offer you. We gon' show you on your way. The content it never stays. We're positive and uplifting. Once a week, the scope gifted.